जय गिरिवरधारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ, जय गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव, जय कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव, जय कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा, जय सुभद्रा, जय राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधा कृष्ण चंद्र श्री राधे, जय निताय चैतन्य, जय निताय चैतन्य, निताय चैतन्य, जय निताय चैतन्य, जय प्रभुपदा, जय प्रभुपदा, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपदा। Hare Krishna. So today is a very auspicious day when we are making a transition from Purushottam Mas to Chaturmasya. So yesterday was also very auspicious, and again today it is another variety of auspiciousness. Yes. So as Srila Prabhupada told that the spiritual life means every day is a festival. Yeah, every day is a auspicious day. Every day is a day of festivity. Yeah. So we are so only thing is that the variety of festivity changes. So we were in Purushottam Mas, now we are in Chaturmasya. Yeah. So we'll begin with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutat Padakam Lam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamscha Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratu Se Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapte Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balbhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannatha Hete Namah Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Gaura Chandra Jaya Dinabandhu Jaya Jaya Sachi Suta Jaya Karuna Sindhu. So Hare Krishna. So today we are going to discuss third canto, 27th chapter, 24th verse and 25th of verse. We will first recite the shloka. Bhukta bhoga parityakta drishta dosha cha nityasha nesvarasya shubham dhatte swe mahimni stithasya cha. Bhukta bhoga parityakta drishta dosha cha nityasa nesvarasya shubham dhatte swe mahimni stithasya cha. Bhukta bhoga parityakta drishta dosha cha nityasa nesvarasya shubham dhatte swe mahimni stithasya cha. Let us see the word to word meaning. Bhukta, enjoyed. Bhoga, enjoyment. Parityakta, given up. Drishta, discovered. Dosha, faultiness. Cha, and. Nityasa, always. Na, not. Isvarasya, of the independent. Asubham, harm. Dhatte, she inflicts. Swe, mahimni, in his own glory. Stithasya, situated. Cha, and. By discovering the faultiness of his desiring to lord it over material nature, and by therefore giving it up, the living entity becomes independent and stands in his own glory. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Sharanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Because the living entity is not actually the enjoyer of the material resources, his attempt to lord it over material nature is at the ultimate issue, frustrated. As a result of frustration, he desires more power than the ordinary living entity and thus wants to merge into the existence of the supreme enjoyer. In this way, he develops a plan for greater enjoyment. When one is actually situated in devotional service, that is his independent position. Less intelligent men cannot understand the position of the eternal servant of the Lord. Because the word servant is used, they become confused. They cannot understand that this servitude is not the servitude of this material world. To be the servant of the Lord is the greatest position. If one can understand this and can thus revive one's original nature of eternal servitorship of the Lord, one stands fully independent. A living entity's independence is lost by material contact. In the spiritual field, he has full independence, and therefore there is no question of becoming dependent upon the three modes of material nature. This position is attained by a devotee, and therefore he gives up the tendency for material enjoyment after seeing its faultiness. The difference between a devotee and an impersonalist is that an impersonalist tries to become one with the Supreme so that he can enjoy without impediment, whereas a devotee gives up the entire mentality of enjoying and engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. That is his constitutional glorified position. At that time, he is Ishwar, fully independent. The real Ishwar or Ishwara Parma, the supreme Ishwar or the supreme independent is Krishna. The living entity is Ishwara only when engaged in the service of the Lord. In other words, transcendental pleasure derived from loving service to the Lord is actual independence. Hare Krishna. So I am also instructed to speak on 25th verse at the same time. So I will read the verse. Yatha hi apratibudhasya prasvapo bahva anartha bhret sa eva pratibudhasya na vai mohaya kalpate. Yatha hi apratibudhasya prasvapo bahva anartha bhret sa eva pratibudhasya na vai mohaya kalpate. Word to word meaning, yatha, as, he indeed, apratibudhasya, of one who is sleeping, prasvapa, the dream, bahu anartha bhrit, bearing many inauspicious things, sa eva, that very dream, pratibudhasya, of one who is awake, na, not, why, certainly, mohaya, for bewildering, kalpate, is capable. Translation: in the dreaming state, one's consciousness is almost covered and one sees many inauspicious things. But when he is awakened and fully conscious, such inauspicious things cannot bewilder him. Purport: in the condition of dreaming, when one's consciousness is almost covered, one may see many unfavorable things which cause disturbance or anxiety. But upon awakening, although he remembers what happened in the dream, he is not disturbed. Similarly, the position of the self-realization or understanding of one's real relationship with the Supreme Lord makes one completely satisfied. And the three modes of material nature, which are the cause of all disturbances, cannot affect him. In contaminated consciousness, one sees everything to be for his own enjoyment. But in pure consciousness or Krishna consciousness, he sees that everything exists for the enjoyment of the Supreme Enjoyer. That is the difference between dream state and wakefulness. The state of contaminated consciousness is compared to dream consciousness, and Krishna consciousness is compared to awakened stage of life. Actually, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, the only absolute enjoyer is Krishna. One who can understand that Krishna is the proprietor of all the three worlds and he is the friend of everyone, is peaceful and independent. Yeah. So I think we can remember the words for this, what Srila Prabhupada is talking about in the purport. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim rechati. As long as a conditioned soul does not have this knowledge, he wants to be the enjoyer of everything. He wants to become a humanitarian or philanthropist and open hospitals and school for his fellow human beings. This is an illusion, for one cannot benefit anyone by such material activities. If one wishes to benefit his fellow brother, he must awaken his dormant Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious position is that of Prati Buddha, which means pure consciousness. Okay, so this was a very enlightening transcendental words which we are going to discuss today. Okay, so as Srila Prabhupada often said in the Back to Godhead magazine, this was a very famous aphorism, a famous statement that Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andhakar. Jahan Krishna, wahan nahi Maya ra adhikar. that Krishna is just like the sunlight, Maya is like a darkness. And if the sun of Krishna has arisen in the heart of any living entity, all his misgivings, all his inauspiciousness in his own life is completely, fully destroyed. Yes. And to understand it more graphically, Srila Prabhupada used to give various very simple and beautiful examples which we can comprehend. Like one of the very famous example which we often quote in our preaching to new people is that of a fish out of water. That a fish is naturally, constitutionally, you know, is a being of water, and it is most happy when it traverses in the ocean, in the vast ocean, freely, independently. When the same fish is taken out of the water, and no matter what it is given, it may be given a nice AC, a lot of sensual objects, a lot of sensual sights, and lot of comfort and everything. No matter what it is given, it can never feel happy, and it undergoes lot of inauspicious things. It undergoes lot of trauma, and and only solace is not to make it much more comfortable on the land, or make a much more complicated system of satisfying the fish somehow. The only thing we can do is just put it back into its constitutional place, so that it can enjoy its constitutional activity within the water. Yeah. So what are the various inauspicious things which a living entity undergoes when it comes to this material world? Yes. So one of the thing which Srimad Bhagavatam tells, that it compares a living entity to be like a prostitute. Why? Because a prostitute is standing, and whoever person comes, it is always just inspecting. Maybe this person can be my customer, maybe this person can satisfy me. Oh, this person, oh, he looks poor, he cannot give me more. Oh, maybe that person who is coming wearing suit and boot, maybe that person, he looks very promising customer, maybe he can satisfy me, maybe he can give me a lot of money. So to her, the prostitute's vision is fully tainted with enjoying mentality, with demanding mentality, and it is very unpeaceful in the one state of consciousness. Similarly, a living entity in this world has actually come to enjoy, and that enjoying mentality is perverted. So the actual enjoying mentality is that of enjoying with Krishna in the mood of servitude. But the same is when reflected in this material world, it becomes lust, and it is so painful. So similarly, a living entity, just like this example of prostitute, is just looking, oh, maybe this thing can satisfy me, maybe that thing can satisfy me, maybe that person, that object. So he's looking for various types of varieties of sense objects, and it never gets satiated, because just like a fish has the experience of oceanic water. If on the land a fish is given little Bisleri water, okay, you are needing water, take some drops of water. The fish will not be satisfied. Similarly, all the sensual objects of this world are just like few drops of water. They are like a vibhuti of Krishna placed in this world in a little format, and that also it is temporary, it is dwindling. So a living entity thinks, oh, maybe this can satisfy me, and he goes to enjoy, and he finds, oh, it has gone, it is not giving that much satisfaction. Okay, so then Maya Devi tells, okay, don't worry, don't become hopeless, maybe that thing will surely satisfy you. Why don't you chase that now? Yes. So a living entity keep hovering from one object to another, one body to another body, in the search of happiness, like that. So another way in which the living entity is put in a very inauspicious condition is, Srila Prabhupada gave example of a child. A child on the bank of sea, on the beach, he makes various varieties of object with the sand, and then the waves come and it just take it away. Similarly, a living entity is very much perturbed, because this life is temporary, and whatever he collects, whatever he thinks that I am the proprietor of, by the wave of time, and within this life, sometime by the changing of the time, by the changing of his karma, is taking away. And then he cries, oh, I collected so many objects, I made such a nice house on that beach, and it went away. And then he starts crying, oh, so this has happened. So this is another very poor predicament of a living entity in this world, because of the temporal, because a living entity has habit. The living entity has habit of eternity. He has lived in the spiritual world in an eternal format, where in eternity there is no question of any loss, because what you have will remain eternal. And there in the spiritual world, the time factor is acting, but the time factor doesn't have a dwindling effect. It doesn't have a losing effect. So living entity is used to that. When he comes here, he just like that child on the beach. He questions why it happened with me. I was so happy. I had collected so much of money, but why it went away? Why bad things happened with good people? I'm such a nice person. Why it happened with me? So that is another very, very harmful predicament, inauspicious situation, pathetic situation of a living entity in this material world. So what are the other predicament which a living entity suffers in this world? First of all, he's kidnapped practically. He is put into this cage of body, and this body has so many demands. So this body's demands are compared to whips. So Maya has many whips, like hunger, thirst, itching sensations of sexual desire, and so many things are there. And so this body doesn't allow a living entity to sit peacefully. So it has so many demands, and a living entity has to just supply the demand. He's depending on the demands of his body. Another thing which a living entity suffers is the samshaya, doubts. What is this material world? From where it has come? Who? So he doesn't get answer properly. He's simply tied to the laws of material nature. Whatever the material nature asks him to do, he has to do. Suppose a living entity is born in a poor family. He is born in with less intelligence. So a living entity has no option but to carry on with that type of body. Yes. So material world is a dark place. So far, you no matter how many space exploration we do, no matter how many spaceship we send to other planets, still it remains unexplored. Means living entity searching, is there any life on other planets? And what is beyond us, how this world is created, and thus he comes up with variety of theories, maybe Darwin theory, Big Bang theory, maybe by this it has been done. So the living entity simply stuck up in speculation, because this world is full of darkness. But while in the spiritual world, the living entity has the experience of complete knowledge. Yes, a living entity established in full enlightenment in its original state. But when he is put into this situation of darkness, he's simply perplexed, and he simply keep coming up with variety of theory, and those theory keep getting defeated. Some other scientist come, he defeats that theory, maybe that theory, there are a lot of debates, and like that's living entity do time pass in this material world. So all these things can be summarized, the predicament of living entity, as the opposite of three constitutional nature of the living entity. What is that? Sat, Chit and Ananda. So a living entity in its full glory, as Srila Prabhupada has talked in the purport and in the translation, in its independent state, in its complete manifestation, yes, is Sat, Chit and Ananda. And when he is put into this material world, he suffers opposite of Sat, Chit, Ananda. Such means eternity. The living entity is facing temporary, the temporary world, yes, which is very painful for the living entity, because temporary means there's a gain and loss. Yes, something which you have today, it will be lost. Some beautiful things is there, its beauty will decline. That's the nature of temporary. Similarly, Chit means complete knowledge. As I told before, yes, he's living in a world of darkness. There's a lot of doubts. There is a lot of misunderstanding. Why this is happening? Why that is happening? Yes. And then the third one is, and the most important one is Ananda. The living entity is Anandamaya Bhyashat. By nature, the living entity is pleasure seeking. Yes. But when he's put into this world, as Krishna says, Dukhalayam Asashwatam, this world gives him a lot of pain. He is not able to enjoy to its fullest extent. Yes, and whatever he enjoys are just like a drops of water put into the mouth of a thirsty person. It doesn't give him complete satisfaction. Yes, so this is completely opposite of Satchitananda. So let us see from our scriptures what our scriptures talks about this state. So in the Bhagavatam, the canto 1 and chapter 6, Narad Muni is telling his journey of how he was earlier in a conditional stage, where he was just like a child born in a Shudra family, in the family of a maid servant, and gradually how by spiritual practice he becomes supremely independent. So let us see the journey of Narad Muni. So when he becomes independent, what were his symptoms? So yeah, 1.6.27 I am reading. Okay, so evam Krishna mater brahman na saktasya malatmana kala pradha bhut kale tadit saudamani yatha. And so, O Brahman, Vyasdev, in due course of time, I, who was fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna and who therefore had no attachment, being completely freed from all material taints. So see his journey, a conditional soul, and Narad Muni is still within his condition, that body of a boy, that same body in which he was conditioned. But within that body, by becoming spiritually fully conscious, yes, what he did, he became fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna and thus had no attachment. He was not like that example of a prostitute, always looking, maybe this object, maybe that object can give me. He was fully detached from that and completely freed from all material taints. No more effect of rajas and tamas in his heart. Met with death, as lightning and illumination occur simultaneously. Yes, so there is a lightning and illumination. So here what happened? As soon as he gave up his body, immediately his spiritual body emerged. Yes. So let us see what Srila Prabhupada is telling. To be fully absorbed in thought of Krishna means clearance of material dirt or hankering. As a very rich man has no hankering for small petty things, so also a devotee of Lord Krishna who is guaranteed to pass on to the kingdom of God, where life is eternal, fully cognizant and blissful, naturally has no hankerings. Yes, because a living entity, when a fish, he knows that after I leave my body, I am going to enter into the ocean. Yes, so he has no attachment for little water of the which somebody may be putting in his mouth. Yes, he has no attachment because and has no hankering for petty material things. Srila Prabhupada is using very nice word, petty material things. Our Acharya says, just for petty happiness, what this sense object will give us, some few drops of happiness, a living entity makes so much effort, so much of labor, yes, which are like dolls or shadow of the reality. This is another wonderful thing which Prabhupada is telling. Like the doll and shadow, it's like a doll to play, just like a child. It is given a doll to play. A doll is not a real object. It's just an imaginary object to play with. A person puts Gudda and Guddi, the male doll and female doll, and then the child thinks, oh, they are getting married, and he do some artificial festivals. It's like a shadow. In the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, also Krishna says, Urdha Moolam Adha Shakham. This material world is like the reflection of the real tree, upside down tree. It's just a reflection. Within that reflection, it may seem, oh, nice fruits are there. But when you go to enjoy that fruit doesn't come in the hand only, because that is just a reflection. How can you catch a reflection? Reflection is only good to see, to tell to others. Similarly, the objects of this world are just good to hear. Oh, there's so much enjoyment there. A person simply imagines. There's a lot of happiness in this material world in simply looking at a sense object and hearing of the sense object and imagining the pleasure. But when you actually go to enjoy it, it's just like a Hindi proverb. We say, "Khoda pahad, nikla chuha." There's a big hill. And you think, oh, in this hill, so many things will be there, so many jewels will be there. When you actually dig that hill, a small mouse comes out. Similarly, sense objects of this world looks very nice because, oh, within that water, that reflection, so many fruits, but they are actually just a reflection of the real fruits. When you go to enjoy, oh, it's no, there's no more enjoyment there. Which are like dolls and shadows of reality and are without permanent value. Yeah, they are not permanent. That is the science of spiritually enriched persons. And in due course of time, when a pure devotee is completely prepared, all of a sudden, the change of the body occurs, which is commonly called death. And for the pure devotee, such a change takes place exactly like lightning. Yes, exactly like lightning. Why? Because there is a sudden change. Because within living in this body, just like in the last class we saw in the previous week, the Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means within this body, he can live like a lotus flower, untouched by, he simply stays in this body, just like a person stays in a rented apartment. Okay, I'm staying till the time my rental agreement is there. I have to stay. And then after that, so similarly a Jivan Mukta, he just stays, but he's already prepared to receive a spiritual body. There's a very direct transition. There's no breakage. The breakage is there for a conditioned soul, because he has got one body and now he has to, he will go to a hellish planet, and then he will suffer something, and then he will again come back. He will go to Pitra Loka and so many things. But for a devotee, it's just like a constant. He's already spiritual within, sitting in his body, and as soon as this body breaks, immediately he is arise in its full glory, in its full format of a complete spiritual being. And for the pure devotee, such a change takes place exactly like lightning and illumination follow simultaneously. That is to say, a devotee simultaneously changes his material body and develops a spiritual body by the will of the Supreme. Even before death, a pure devotee has no material affection due to his body being completely spiritualized, like a red hot iron in contact with fire. So here Prabhupada is giving the example of a red hot iron in contact with fire. Yes. So just like an iron is fully hot, it acquires all the qualities of a fire. iron rod. Similarly, within living in this body is actually fully spiritualized. And that's why when great sannyasis, great acharyas die, we do samadhi of their body, because their body is, although matter, but that matter is fully spiritualized by the heat, by the fire of spiritual practices. So that's why this body also becomes fully spiritual. And that's why I have heard at one place that when sometimes a pure devotee dies, sometimes his body has a smell also, as the beautiful smell of lotus, because his body is fully spiritualized. And then after getting the spiritual body, what Narad Muni is telling, having been awarded a transcendental body befitting an associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes. And that body which he has got is befitting to be the associate of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like Prabhupada told, if you want to enter fire, you have to be fiery. If with this dull, temporary, breakable material body, if you enter the fire, it will not suit you. Yes, you will be burned. Similarly, if you want to become associate of the supreme fire, Krishna, you also have to become the spark in its full glory. Then only we can enter the fire and associate with the fire. So I quit the body made of 5 material elements, and thus all acquired fruitive results of work stopped. That is, karma stopped. So that is another result of giving up this body, because this body means karma bandhana, pap and punya both. So this body, so as long as we have body, we have to be in karma bandhana by our previous accumulated sins and piety. We are given certain shape of body, certain color of the skin, certain look, either handsome or ugly, a certain status of family. Yes, all these are karma bandhana. But as soon as Narad Muni is telling, as soon as I got the spiritual body, no more this karma bandhana, no more sins and piety. It's like a fully independent spiritual soul. And then what Narad Muni is telling finally, that antar bahishcha lokam string paryemi asakandita vrata anugrahana mahavishnur avighata gati kvachit. Since then, by the grace of Almighty Vishnu, I travel everywhere without restriction. No more restriction. Without restriction, both in the transcendental world and in the 3 divisions of the material world. This is because I am fixed in the unbroken devotional service of the Lord. Yeah, after becoming free, the Narad Muni is telling that I travel across the whole world without restriction. No more restriction of this body. Yes. Because we are encased within the body. Yes, we are limited by the movements of the body. That's the conditional stage. But now Narad Muni is transcendental stage. Yes, he just moves all around both in the transcendental world as well as in the material world. Narad Muni is completely free, and thus I travel constantly, singing the transcendental message and the glories of the Lord, vibrating this instrument called a veena, which is charged with transcendental sound and which was given to me by Lord Krishna himself. Yes. And then the Supreme Lord Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart. Yes, this is another stage of like liberated stage. At once, as if called for as soon as I begin to chant his holy activity. Whenever Narad Muni, as soon as he calls for Krishna, immediately Krishna comes and sits in his heart. Yes. So this is another liberated stage where one can have direct relationship with the Supreme Father. Like if somebody is very far away from his father, he can simply talk to his father, or something like that. But in a liberated state, a living entity is directly in contact with his Supreme Father. Yes, he can do devotional activity and in a highway manner. It has no blockage. Yes. And then a similar type of shloka appears in 1.2.21, which describes the liberated stage. When a person becomes liberated from this body, when a person restores back to his full glory, what happens then? Vidyate hridaya granthi, chidyante sarva samshaya, chiyante chasya karmani, drishta evatmani ishware. It is a similar verse to what we read. Drishtva evatmani ishware. Srila Prabhupada was telling in the purport, a living entity becomes a Ishwar. Ishwar of what? He becomes the Ishwar of his own body. He becomes, because as I told in the previous Srimad Bhagavatam class also, that when a soul is there and the flow of energy is from outside in, when the flow of energy is from the senses to the mind, to the intelligence, to the soul, that's a conditional stage. That means the matter, the senses are controlling the soul. The soul is simply enamored by the demands of the senses, and is simply busy in fulfilling them. But when the flow of energy is from the soul to the senses, that means soul is the highest and it controls the intelligence, which thereafter controls the mind and thus the senses, then that's a liberated state. That means soul is the Ishwar. I am the Ishwar of I am the Goswami. Yes. And thus it is under my control. And whatever I want my body to do, that my body will do. Whatever I want, direct my senses to do, that my senses will do. That is the Goswami stage. Yes. That means I want to chant 24 hours, I will chant 24 hours. No more the misgivings of the senses. No more enamored by the mind. Yes. So that's the stage of liberated stage. So here Ishwara doesn't means that he becomes the Ishwar of the whole universe, as what Mayavadis think. Ishwar means I am fully independent within the body to focus my attention on the Supreme Lord. That's the meaning of Ishwar. Yes. So let us see. So what are the symptoms of such Ishwar? Let us see. Vidyate hridaya granthi. All the knots in the heart are pierced. So this is one symptom when one becomes a Ishwar within one's body, when one becomes a Goswami, is that all the knots, because in the heart there are so many knots which are tied, so many knots of attachment. Yes, I am attached to certain thing. When a man, as soon as he comes in a contact with a woman, because of the knot in the heart, there is a very natural attraction. Yes, there is a natural attraction to wealth of this world. So all the knots in the heart are pierced. All misgivings are cut to pieces. Chidyante sarva samshaya. Samshaya means there are many doubts. What is this universe? Why bad thing happen with good people and why good thing happen with bad people? How this all the yonis have come into this, all the species of life has come, who am I, what is this material nature, what is the purpose of my life, what am I supposed to do? Sarva samsaya. And whatever even the doubts are regarding devotional service, why Krishna did this, why Krishna created this material world, everything is destroyed. Chidyante sarva samsaya, in its full glory. In its full glory means in its full knowledge also. Yes, that's the Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Within this body sitting, when a devotee who comes in contact with the Supreme Lord, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, that Krishna, he fully enlightens one's intelligence, and thus a devotee has no more doubts. He becomes fully clear about what, why, how, where. All the questions are fully answered. Yes. So chidyante sarva samsaya. No more samshaya in the mind. Then chiyante chasya karmani. No more karma. The fruitive actions is terminated. It's fully terminated. No more action and reaction. Yes. So whatever action is done, it is for the pleasure of Supreme Lord. And there is no reaction to it. So whatever activity is done, it is done at the soul platform. And he does devotional service and soul gets happiness. And that happiness is Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. It just keeps expanding. And there's no more further. Yes, by that in chapter to Arjuna, who Arjuna, if so such a person who is situated in transcendence, sthita pragya, in the second chapter also Krishna tells that such a person, he does things but actually he doesn't do it. What does it mean? A person is doing thing but still he is not doing it. That means he is doing thing but he is unaffected by the reaction of that thing. That particular work has no longer any further seeds of either papa or punya, either happiness or distress, because it is done, out of the conception of bodily concept, bodily conception of life. Yes. So it is the conception of the soul which creates further karma. When that conception is fully cleared, there's no more karma. And when does it happen? Drishtva evatmani ishvare. When one sees the self to be the master. Yes, that I am the master sitting within this body. Yes. So this is the state. And our Bhakti Vinod Thakur and all the great acharyas have written many songs in order to elaborate more, like in a much more refined manner, that what does it mean to be coming in contact with the Supreme Lord, to be restored back in our full glory. And like one of the songs which is coming to my mind is Ekho na bhujino Prabhu tomara charana Ashoka abhayamrita purna sarva khana. At Ekho na bhujino Prabhu tomara charana, because I have taken the complete shelter of your lotus feet. Ekona bhujino Prabhu tomara sarana. And what is the effect which is happening by that? Ashoka. Ashoka means no more soka. Living entity has so many soka. What will happen to my job? What will happen to my wife and children? And what will happen to the school in which my child is studying? Whether my child will become great or not? And what about my bank balance? And what so many troubles are there in the living entity's life? From morning till night, if we observe our own life, so time and time again, soka. Asoka. I have become fully Asoka. Why? Because fully taken shelter of your lotus feet. That, oh Krishna, you are my maintainer. Whatever is happening is by your will, because you are my master. And I have full faith that you are my maintainer and you are my sustainer. Bhokta Ram Yagya Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Asoka, Abhaya, no more fear. There's so much of fear because this world is temporary. So there's a lot of fear. Oh, I will lose this. Oh, maybe my wealth is going away, and a person is in fear. Yeah? But no more fear, because Sarva Lokam, Suhiridam Sarva Bhutanam. You are the well-wisher of all living entity, including me. So where is the fear? Whatever happens, Krishna will supply. That full faith is there in Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and that's why he's declaring it very boldly. When I have taken shelter of Krishna, Asoka, Abhaya, Amrita, he is experiencing the nectar in his life. He is coming gradually to that light of eternity. No more effect of temporariness of this material world. Ashoka, Abhaya, Amrita, Purna Sarva Khana. All the khana, everything is fully destroyed. Purna Sarva Khana. No more I have anxiety. That's the nature of a person who has taken the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. And that's why when Narsimdev appeared in front of Prahlad Maharaj, yes, what the Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Narsimdev is telling, oh Prahlad Maharaj, maybe I will give you this, I will give you that. You have pleased me so much. Just for you I have come. But Prahlad Maharaj is saying, कि तद वीर्य गायेना महामृता मग्न चित्ता. that by singing your glory, I am fully drowned in the ocean of bliss. What I need, Narsimdev? No more. Means you have already given so much in the form of your holy name, in the form of your holy activities. Just by singing that, I have no more desire. Tad वीर्य गायन महामेघ्ना soche, tad vimukh chetasa, that when I am thinking about others, that how others are entangled in this material world, they're simply chasing after the temporary things of this world. Maya sukhaya, they are finding the pleasure in the Maya, in the lap of the Maya. And when I'm thinking, they're carrying the burden, of so-called self-gratification. I'm thinking of them, then I'm feeling that pain. So Narsimdev, if you want to actually give me something, then give me the opportunity to preach. Give me the opportunity to make this pitiable fellows, this conditioned living entities, which includes us also, into devotees. So Narsimdev is actually begging for preaching activity. Yes, so that's the compassion. So when the the preaching activity is one of the highest expression of the person who is in the liberated state, who is in contact with the Supreme Lord. Yes, but because when we are very happy, when we are fully contented, it manifests in the form of compassion. So Srila Prabhupada used to say that thinking of Krishna all the time, that's the perfection. But the highest, more higher perfection than that is, when we think of, when we eat nice feast in the temple, just like if suppose I have gone to the temple and one of my fellow friend has not come to the temple, and I am seeing in the temple some nice class is going on, nice feast is there, and I am fully satisfied. It comes in the expression of calling my friend. Oh friend, such a nice class is going on. Such a nice feast. Some 15-20 items are there in the feast. Please come fast. You can also have it. Yes. So when we are fully satisfied, when we are established in it, in our full glory, yes, that completeness also manifests as compassion. And that's why all our acharya, Nikunja yono rati keli siddhai, yayali bhir yuktir apekshaniya, tatrati dakshat ativallabhasya. That the spiritual master is daksha, tatrati dakshat. Dakshat is one in what? Nikunja seva. They are fully expert into that seva of gopis so many of our acharyas are manjaris. They are direct witness of Radha Krishna pastime. They are fully satisfied, but still they come to this material world. They are already established in his full glory, but still they come to the material world as a matter of expression of. So compassion is one of the highest expression of a person who is fully situated in the devotional service, because that's the nature of the soul. So compassion is one of the natural nature of the soul, where we are not just satisfied being ourselves into the liberated state. We want other living entity to also take shelter of Krishna. Yes, so that's and here Srila Prabhupada is telling about the Mayavadis, who want to enjoy in this world, and when they're frustrated, they want to be established into a different set of enjoyment. That is enjoying one's independence. Okay, this material world is binding me, and if I go to the spiritual world, I have to serve Krishna. So no more. So they are feeling, no, I will not serve Krishna, and neither I want to get entangled in this material world. So they just want to become, oh, I am soul, and they keep floating, in that state of so-called independence. And that independence, although looking like an eternity, Bhagavatam explains, as soon as after floating, suspending in the Brahma Jyoti for a long time, as soon as they get the desire, oh, it's been so long, I'm floating in this Brahma Jyoti. So as soon as that desire comes, okay, I want to taste some rasa, because they don't have experience of spiritual rasa, immediately they fall down again to taste that so-called rasa of this world, social service, making hospital and those things. So making hospital, etc. Srila Prabhupada compared making the jail a much better place. Like that. So that's why our Goswami, as the Rup Goswami tells, even Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, or even the desire of mukti, all are pishachi. These are all devotee doesn't. These are all different formats of enjoyment. Karma Kanda is enjoying through senses. Gyan Kanda is enjoying through mental speculation. And the desire for mukti, it is just like the most elevated state of enjoyment. It's the last layer of Maya, where a person doesn't want to even be a servant in material world, neither be a servant in the spiritual world. He just want to be, means without the any foundation. He just want to float in a suspended state. So that's why Srila Prabhupada is fully condemning such people. Yes. So and Srila Prabhupada is telling the complete perfection of a living entity is neither in Gyan Kanda, Karma Kanda, or even in Mukti. Complete perfection is when one person attains the lotus feet of Krishna. That's the living entity's complete liberation. Yes, where there is no more chance to coming back to this material world and being fully satisfied in one's spiritual activity in reciprocation with Krishna. Yes. So with this, as we have almost approached the time, so with this, I want to just complete the session. So in a very brief, I want to recapitulate what we have seen today. So first of all, we saw the example of the fish out of water, and then we saw various predicaments which the fish suffer when out of the water. I gave the example of a prostitute looking for the customer, the child making the sand dunes, the whips of Maya. Yes, the various doubts of the living entity within this darkness of this world. We saw how the Satchit Ananda is the complete manifestation of a soul in its full glory, and how the opposite of Satchit Ananda is experienced in this material world, which is very painful for a living entity. Yes, we saw the journey of Narad Muni, how Narad Muni, when he became liberated, what was his experience, what was his realization of his own liberation. Yes, we saw from the second canto the symptom of a person who is Ishwar within his own body. And then we saw Prahlad Maharaj, who is also situated in that full glory, and the highest expression of the liberated state is compassion. Yes, when a soul is completely restored in its full glory, the highest expression is the kindness for other living entity in connection with Krishna. Yes. So with this, we would like to end today's session. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so we'll end the session here.